we are here to present a little bit of a piece that's called Oratorio Panhispánico. It's a piece I wrote. It's an oratorio that tells the story of the Passion of Christ from the lens of Hispanic immigrants. So it's a lot about migration and faith and resilience. Uh, we are part of a music ministry that's called Music at Co-Cath. That it's the music ministry from the Co-Cathedral of Brooklyn, where we do a season of concerts throughout the year. And our following performance is this Oratorio Panhispánico. So we wanted to bring it out of there, and since Terraza is a second home for me at least, and I know from many of others here, we wanted to bring it here and also share it with the immigrant community here, because we think it's a music that's worth getting out of the church itself and onto another different spaces, and spaces that we need also to reclaim as immigrants, specifically in the climate we are dealing with today. So we want to start this with a little conversation about what this oratorio is and what's an oratorio and what is this piece specifically about and why is it pan-hispanico. And then after a little bit of that conversation, we're going to play some of the sections of the piece and hopefully get you excited to reserve your tickets and go see us. With me today, we have very special friends and performers from this piece. We have Horacio Hernandez on the guitar, Fernando Garcia on percussion, Camila Maric is our wonderful mezzo-soprano. We have our Associate Director of Music at Co-Cath and our wonderful soprano, Cristina Maria Castro. And we have Carlos Mena on bass. My name is Alejandro Zuleta, and I hope you enjoy this and learn a little bit about this music and maybe get excited to go.
So hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Cristina Maria. I think what is really cool about this piece is that we get to talk to the person who created it, Alejandro Zuleta. And I just have a couple of questions that I'm going to ask. If you have any questions, please feel free to jump in as well, and we'll be able to take advantage of talking to somebody and getting into their mind of why they created this. So El Oratorio Panhispánico, like what inspired you to create this piece?
So this piece exists in the context of our Music at Co-Cath ministry. So we were looking for a piece that we could do for Lent, but that was representative of our Hispanic community. And we were looking for a piece as such, and we couldn't find it. So then we say we have to create this type of piece. So that's one part. The other part is it's like a fantastic idea of a fantastic meeting. And my idea was that in the border of Mexico and the US, a group of immigrants from all over Hispanic America can come together on a Friday to pray the rosary. And Friday is the sorrowful mystery, so you tell the Passion on Fridays. But instead of praying it, they sing it. So they sing it with rhythms from all Hispanic America. So they sing with rhythms from Peru, from Colombia, from Argentina, and each of those rhythms has a meaning for them. So that's kind of the birthplace of this oratorio.
How great is that? We can't find a piece, so I'm going to write one. And we premiered this piece 2 years ago, correct?
Yes.
And that was, if you were able to be part of that, I think most of us were actually. We staged this piece, and it was directed by Daniel Irizarry. And this production is a new concept by Malena Dayen. How is it to work with these other creators to bring your piece to life?
Well, this is one of the most special things we do. Also, we do at Music at Co-Cath. We work within a genre that we call concert plus productions, but these pieces that are fully staged, I think, can almost be called like choral theater of a sort. So it's like a mixture of choral performances with theater. So we do fully staged productions with costumes, with props, with everything to engage the audience a little bit more closer to the experience of the pieces. And it's great to work with those very talented theater directors that helps us bring this music closer and tell the stories of this music in a way that we can like kind of bridge the gap between what we're talking about, the music, and the audiences.
So your oratorio has kind of two structures. I feel it's following. We have the Baroque Passion we have inspiration from that, and also the Rosary. Can you talk a little bit about those two
Yes,
inspirations and how they work
of
together?
course, of course. So if you don't know what an oratorio is, it's basically an opera about a sacred text or a sacred event. So if I will write an opera about Jesus's birth or about any sacred event, instead of calling it an opera, I call it an oratorio, and it has sort of the same structure that an opera has. So with the addition of a chorus. So basically, what a Baroque oratorio was, or a Baroque passion was, is a section of it's divided in different numbers, and each of those numbers play a different role within the story. So in some of the numbers, we tell the story per se, like this is what happened today, and such and such and such. In other numbers, we reflect upon the story. So this is what happened is a type of number, and then this is what I think about what happened. This is how I'm feeling about what happened. That's a different sort of number within the Baroque passion. And then the third type of thing are prayers, or moments of in the opera. More than prayers, are moments of like deep connection with something that not necessarily bring the story forwards, but makes us like be in the present with the story. So those three elements are very important for a Baroque passion. And if you think about the Rosary, if you know a little bit about the Catholic faith, the Rosary is a prayer that has different sections. So you tell a little bit of the story, and that's one of the parts of the prayer. Then you reflect upon what's been told, what's been heard, and then you pray. So it kind of mimics the rosary mimics the structure of the Baroque passion. So this oratory is a mix between an inspiration from a Baroque passion and the rosary, which is also very important within a lot of our Hispanic American communities. Uh, but instead of filling it in with the elements that the Baroque passion will be filled in, is filled in with the elements of our Hispanicity.
That's a perfect segue into my next question about the term pan-Hispanic or pan-hispánico. What does that mean in the context of this piece?
So the pan-Hispanicity, it's everywhere in this piece. It starts from incorporating rhythms from all Hispanic America. We have from Argentina, we have samba, and we have cueca from Chile. We have joropo from Venezuela and Colombia. We have tonada from Venezuela. There's huapango from Mexico. So we have rhythms of all Hispanic America. So that's one of the aspects in which this is a pan-Hispanic work. The other aspect is that the poetry of the piece, so it's the story of the passion, but it's told in decimas. Decimas is a type of rhyme structure that was brought from Spain during the colonization, but it became very, very popular in Latin America. And all through Latin America, we have different types of decimistas that improvise this type of rhyme structure. So we have decimistas in Argentina, in Uruguay, in Chile, in Colombia, in Mexico, everywhere. So the way this passion is told is in decimas, which is very, very Hispanic American. And to add to the Hispanic content, we were talking about the three different aspects: the storytelling aspect, the reflective aspect, and the prayer. So in the storytelling, that's told in decimas. Those reflections that are more like solo singing or arias are a type of solo singing in opera and oratorio. Those reflections are the text for those reflections are sonnets from El Siglo de Oro in Spain. So we imported those into Latin American rhythm. So you're gonna hear a sonnet of Lope de Vega sung in Vals Peruano, for example. And the last piece of this is the instrumentation of the piece itself. So it's a piece that blends choral, classical or contemporary choral music with the rhythm of Hispanic America, but also blends that sort of instrumentation. So if we see it today, it's like half of the band, but it's a Latin American band. So instead of having, we have guitars, instead of having, for example, harpsichords or pianos or other stuff, we have Latin American percussion instead of classical percussion, or the double basses um, from everywhere. And we mix that with chorals, soloist, and wind quintet, which is flute, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and French horn, and that makes also the pan-Hispanicity be a part of the instrumentation. And our two main characters in the oratorio, which are a soprano and a tenor, are called decimistas, which are the ones that tells the story. So Cristina is our decimista soprano, and another tenor is our decimista tenor that we don't have him today, but they are also a main part of this. So that's how the pan-Hispanicity is built into this piece.
So, immigration is central to the oratorio. What stories or realities of migration did you seek to capture?
So the oratorio has two polar opposites. On one side is the beauty, and then on the other side it's the pain. So we told the story of the Passion of Christ, and then not only because it's a religious story, but because of the story itself being a story of somebody that's cast out and crucified and thrown out of his land, or of somebody that is not welcome, not from here, and a stranger. So that's one side of the story. But the other side, it's in the music. So in the text is the story of the suffering and the pain, but in the music is the story of redemption, and it's the story of this is music is only possible with migration. The fact that we can sit together and play music from Argentina, Peru, uh, Colombia, Venezuela, the fact that we can bring this story of suffering and make something beautiful, absolutely beautiful and unique with it that cannot be made in any other place, makes the case for the beauty of migration and the possibilities that only occur because of it. So that's why this story occurs in the border of US and Mexico, because there's no other place in which this music could be alive. And that's one of the most important reasons for me, especially to come here to Terraza today, to be singing this music and telling this story. Because in this place, this has been happening for a while now. We have all come together to make music. Uh, in different nights. Now we're here. This piece doesn't make it different nights in just one night, but it's the same. It's the same feeling. The beauty of Terraza comes from it can only exist in a city like this, and the beauty of this piece also can only exist in a city like this. So if we don't understand and don't value the potential of that, then we are losing so much beauty and so much potential. So that's one aspect of it, and then I have the other. Yeah.
Do you want to share the other?
I can share the other. So we work in conjunction also with an artist from Arizona. His name is Alvaro Enciso. What he does is he walks across the desert and recovers the remains of people that have died crossing the border. Then with those remains, he brings them sometimes back to the ONGs so that they can find the names of the people that have died, and he tries to recollect the stories, at least why they died, what was happening, and it's a beautiful labor so that families can also grieve and know what happened with those people. So at the beginning and he places crosses in each of those locations. He has placed a, a huge amount of crosses in the Sonoran Desert. At the beginning of the oratorio, we begin the if you go to see the stage production of the oratorio, we begin with the names of these persons. There's a recording of the names of these persons and the reason what they died, hypothermia or whatever. So we explain a little bit and we give context. So it's within that sort of, and his work is called Where Dreams Die. That's the name of his work. And I was inspired by his work in terms of my work is takes from him, yeah, the dream section, but we want to say, hey, dreams don't die. This is we might have died crossing, some people might have died, but dreams are here, are alive, and we can bring them like from one hand to the other hand and make the dreams possible for other people. So we begin the oratorio with those names and those stories, and then we go into the story of Jesus, and at the end of the oratorio something very special happened, but you can only witness it if you go and see it live.
April 3rd through 11th.
Yes, April 3rd to 11th.
And what kind of audience member do you anticipate coming? Who would enjoy coming to see this kind of piece?
I hope it's a piece that connect with a lot of people, but but I think, yeah, if you are Hispanic, I think you're gonna love it because you're gonna feel represented and you're gonna feel a connection with a lot of the rhythms and what's happening there. But I also feel that if you are from other culture, it can also be uh, something that can move you in different levels, or bring you closer to our Hispanic culture, or inspire you in several other ways.
Do you have to be a person of faith to enjoy this production?
I don't think so. So this is one of the most important things that we are trying to do with this production, is tell the story, which is a story of within the Catholic faith or the Christian faith, but tell it in a way that it's approachable for everybody, like humanizing the story of Jesus, not much as a sacred story, but as a story that we can relate within our human suffering and within the context of feeling a stranger, feeling unjustly judged and condemned.
I like to. I often tell people when they're trying to understand what this piece is. I said, "Have do you know Jesus Christ Superstar?" It's like the Latin version of Jesus Christ Superstar, where everybody can relate to it in a beautiful way. But we have so much other music, culture, history behind it, which I think is really fun to share with people. I hope Alejandro's okay that I compared his work to that. We'll see. We'll see if I still have a job. Do we have any questions from everybody here? We're happy to take questions afterwards as well, after we present some of the music. But before we start singing, I wanted to ask. Covered a lot.
We covered a lot. Yes.
I have a question. So, with so many rhythms and such a rich cultural history and legacy in Latin America, how did you choose which rhythms to take? And that must have been a very hard task.
Yeah, it was a hard test, and the rhythms are chosen. I choose the rhythms within the context of the story to see what rhythm could relate to the events that were happening. So if you're gonna see now in a couple of the scenes that we're gonna play, my choices of rhythms and the text that which those rhythms are representing, but also the rhythms in this piece are characters as well. So they itself transform. So, for example, the rhythm I chose for Jesus is a samba, Argentina. And as Jesus gets crucified, the samba also gets crucified within the context of the piece. So the samba suffers a transformation as well. So each of those rhythms not only play a part as a rhythm per se, but it also moves through the story as a character and changes. And yeah,
Yes.
Can you give us an example of a decima?
an example of a decima. Sí, yeah. Let me tell you some of the decimas. This one. Cumplió Cristo con lo dicho, consagrado en la escritura. No perdí ni una criatura de las que me había suscrito. Pedro, al sentirse en peligro, desenvainaba su espada y de una fuerte estocada cortó la oreja de Malco, que era el criado del sacro líder de esta coartada. That's an example of a decima. I can have a couple more.
You'll get to hear that one sung soon as well.
Yeah, you get to hear that one song. So why don't we sing for a little bit? So what you're gonna hear is the first four movements of the piece. In the first movement, we are in the garden and they're coming to arrest Jesus. The second movement, it's an aria, it's a vals peruano, and it's a little bit of a reflection on the scene. It's going to be sung by Cristina Maria. On the third movement, we continue the story, and now in that scene, Peter cuts the ear of one of the guards that was coming for Jesus. And in the fourth movement, we pray a Padre Nuestro. So you're going to be able to experience the storytelling, the reflection, and a little bit of a prayer. After that, we can make a little pause, and maybe if you have more questions, we are super happy to talk a little bit more. And then we'll play a couple more things.